What's going on, guys and gals? Travis from AmericanTrucks.com, and today we're checking out arguably one of the loudest and one of the most affordable stainless steel catbacks that you can currently buy if you own a 2010 to 2014 6.2 liter Raptor. That's the Roush single exhaust system featuring these very cool AmericanTrucks exclusive black wide pipe tips. These are actually powder coat tips / cut and rolled. They look really great. I'll touch on that in a little bit, but the big thing that I wanted to get out there, guys, if you just listen to those sound clips, they don't do it justice. This thing really wakes up the sound of the 6.2 liter motor, makes it sound the way it should. It's incredibly lopey, one of the deepest and one of the loudest exhaust systems that I've actually personally heard, and I've done a ton of them. So it's safe to say if you live in the suburbs and you want to wake your neighbors in the morning, this is going to do it. I'm going to go ahead and peg this thing at a very healthy 5 out of 5 on the loudness meter. There are not many other options that you can buy for the Raptor that are going to get any louder than this. And on the note of buying a system, this is also the most affordable stainless steel option, like I just said. There are some other catbacks that you can buy for the Raptor for a little bit less than this. Those systems are typically going to be coming from MBRP, but just so you know, even though the price on those catbacks is a little bit less than this option, they're going to be made out of aluminized steel, and they're not going to provide that same kind of volume and tone. If you do take your Raptor off-road frequently, guys, you drive it the way it was meant to be, you're probably getting a lot of mud and water and all kinds of debris under there. Aluminized steel is going to show signs of rust and corrosion a lot quicker than a stainless steel setup is. So if you have any concerns about that, this is going to get you there. And again, it's the most affordable one. Comes in at around the $700 price point. Honestly, guys, in general terms, that's on the affordable side of things as far as catbacks for the Raptor goes. Now, if you were looking at the site, you've probably seen a lot of the other exhausts on there. They can easily climb over the $1,000 price point, sometimes up to $2,000, and that's why I'm kind of excited about this system, because Roush is kind of one of those premium makers, if you will. They're kind of top tier. Normally their prices are a lot higher, but they managed to keep the cost down by using factory grade 409 stainless with this setup. And then again, we have these very cool AmericanTrucks exclusive tips on here. These are a black powder coat finish, actually. They pretty much took the style and the design of the factory Raptor catback, and they just kind of improved on it. So these have a similar setup. So if you don't want to go too crazy on throwing a bunch of tubes under here, you don't want to modify your truck too much, this is also an excellent choice because it's basically using the same configuration. So no modification is required. We're keeping all of our factory hanger locations. The install is incredibly simple for that reason, also thanks to Roush's build quality. So for that reason, I'm going to give the install a very modest 2 out of 3 wrenches on the old difficulty meter. It shouldn't take you more than 2 hours to get this thing bolted on, and that's even if you're doing it in the driveway with basic hand tools. You might have to make one cut to the provided mid-pipe in the kit, but I'm actually going to show you a little trick to get that out of the way, again, very easily with some basic hand tools. So again, if you're looking for one of the loudest possible exhaust systems for the 6.2 Raptor, you really want to wake up that motor, make it sound the way it should, but you want to keep kind of that factory style configuration, and more importantly, you want the most affordable stainless setup, then Roush has you covered on all those points. So definitely a best buy in my opinion. Check it out a little bit more on the site, and if you decide to stick with this option over any of the other catbacks, you can actually come back to this video in just a little bit. I'm going to show you guys all the tools that you need to dig out of the old toolbox over there, then I'm going to show you how to get this thing bolted on step by step. All right, guys, before we get started, you'll need a couple tools here. Standard drive ratchet, as well as a 13mm socket. That could be shallow or deep. You'll need a couple deep sockets as well, including a 15 and an 18mm. If you're using power tools, you'll definitely want an impact swivel socket, especially for the white pipe flange. And lastly, you'll need a 21mm wrench. That's in order for us to install our new exhaust hanger on the leaf pack. You'll definitely want a breaker bar for the bolt and nut back there as well. If your muffler is a little bit stuck because of those exhaust hangers being rusty, definitely recommend a pry bar, maybe a hammer. To help get those rubber isolators out of there, you'll definitely want an exhaust hanger puller tool, some sort of pry tool with some spray lubricant, and again, impact gun's gonna make the whole thing go a lot quicker. And then lastly, but most importantly, we might have to make some cuts to the mid-pipe, in which case you'll need a measuring tape, a marker, a cutting implement, and you definitely want some eye pro. Only got 2 sets of eyes. All right, so once you got all your tools out, go ahead and grab that 13mm socket. The first thing we need to do is disconnect our factory catback from our wide pipe. So we have this kind of flange deal up here. You have 2 13mm bolts holding them together. We're just going to pull both of those bolts out. It's also helpful to spray these down with some spray lubricant, like some PB Blaster. Might be some rust on here. Okay, now we're going to start disconnecting the catback from the vehicle. So it's held in place with a couple of these rubber isolators in these exhaust hangers. In fact, there should be about 3 in total. We're going to remove the one in front of the muffler, and then we're going to slide the exhaust out from the other 2. So it's helpful to have something like an exhaust hanger puller tool like I have here. just go ahead and pop it out. Make sure it doesn't come down on you as you do so, and it's helpful to spray that down as well. Okay, so the last one of the 2 remaining hangers is located directly above the muffler right here. And again, we're gonna really spray these down. That's gonna really facilitate us sliding the exhaust system out from these rubber isolators, because they're actually gonna stay in place on the frame rails. All right, and that last rubber isolator slash hanger is over here above the double tailpipes next to the leaf spring pack. Okay, so we got all those rubber isolators sprayed down. Now we're gonna try and actually remove our exhaust system. Full disclosure, guys, our truck's in great shape, it's healthy, there's really no rust under here, so it should slide out pretty easily. That may not be the case with yours, especially if you're using a Raptor as it was intended. Chances are there might be a little bit of rust and corrosion on some of those hangers. That's why I recommended really spraying them down and letting them soak. But you might have to grab yourself a large pry bar or a dead blow mallet to kind of just tap on the front of the muffler in order to unseat it and kind of get it to push itself out of those rubber isolators. It's also very helpful to have a friend with you when you do this, and it goes without saying, guys, this exhaust system is heavy, it's a bunch of steel, you don't want it coming down on your head. So when you do actually get this thing to finally unseat and drop down, little thing that I like to do is actually let the tailpipe rest on the rear axle, and then you just kind of push it back a little bit, rotate it a little bit in order to get the tailpipes back over the axle, and we'll slide it out from underneath the truck. Sounds a little bit confusing. It's actually not that bad. I'll show you how it's done. All right, so we got our factory exhaust system removed. Honestly, guys, that was probably the hardest part, getting this giant turd out of there in one piece, if you will. Now, before we actually discard our system, we are gonna have to actually remove our adapter for our wide pipe, but I'll touch on that in a second. I wanted to throw these next to each other and give you a nice little comparison between the two, figure out what's going on here and why the Roush system is one of my favorites on this motor. One of the big reasons why is we are deleting that ugly little resonator there on the mid pipe. That doesn't do any justice for our exhaust volume or tone. And then obviously we're getting rid of this massive ass muffler right here. This thing's baffled and chambered. Basically, this is designed to kind of kill the sound that the Raptor's putting out, and that 6.2 liter definitely deserves to breathe loud and proud. So the Roush muffler, pretty much a straight through design. You have one primary flow tube going through the middle, has some perforations in it that allow some of the exhaust gas to kind of expand into the chamber around it. That actually kind of gives a deeper tone, which sounds really nice, especially at idle, gives it a nice lope to it. But it's very high flow, much less restrictive than our factory exhaust system. Then working our way out to the business end here, we're actually stepping down from 2 individual flow tubes down to 1 flow tube for the tailpipe. Slightly larger diameter than these individual tubes here, so that's also going to give you kind of a deeper tone as it exits out of our exhaust tips. These exhaust tips are really cool, by the way. I really like these. These are an AmericanTrucks exclusive, actually, like I mentioned earlier. That's actually a matte black, very flat black powder coat finish. Honestly, one of the nicest powder coat finishes that I've seen in a long time. And Roush was also nice enough to emboss them with the logo on there as well. They do look a lot better than our factory tips. The factory tips are slash cut, but they're not rolled. So over time, you can kind of see we have some carbon deposits and some buildup on there. And those tips can actually kind of warp over time. That's not going to be the case there because those are slash cut as well, but they're actually rolled. That's going to give a little bit of rigidity. Looks a little bit nicer overall, and overall the thickness of the tubing on our new Roush system appears to be a little bit thicker, a little bit more robust than our factory setup. I did mention earlier, one of the reasons why this system is surprisingly affordable is because we're using factory grade 409 stainless, and there's nothing wrong with that, honestly. Even if you do take your Raptor off-road, you throw it through mud a lot, use it as it's intended. 409 is going to stand up to rust and corrosion and all that bad stuff just as well. Again, this is factory grade 409 here, and you can see our system does quite nice, even though we have taken our truck off-road quite a bit. So, nice little comparison there. Oh, one last thing, we're also keeping all of our factory hanger locations. That's really nice. We are adding one more hanger there on the end for our split Y pipe sort of deal for our exhaust tips. So I'll show you how to get that hanger in there later on. But let's go ahead and let's work our way down here to the flange. So what you're gonna have to do, you're actually gonna have to cut this flange just in front of the resonator. I can't actually show you guys that because we've actually done it before. Our flange is actually secured using a barrel clamp on here, so we're gonna pull that off in just a minute. But go ahead and grab a Sawzall or something, and you just wanna make a flush cut as close as you can to the factory resonator. We're gonna pull this flange off. We're actually gonna use this flange on our new mid pipe because the flange that they throw in the kit only works for EcoBoost and 5-liter trucks. Doesn't work for the larger diameter 6.2 liter. So go ahead and take your time, get this flange off of here, and then I'm actually going to show you guys a little trick for sizing up the mid-pipe so we can actually cut this thing right now with both of the systems off the truck. That way we're not getting all kind of crazy trying to throw pieces up there and mock it up. It's a little bit easier. So I'll meet you guys in just a second. All right, so once you got that flange removed from the factory setup, go ahead and remove this one and slide the factory one into your new mid-pipe. Okay, so we got our factory flange onto our mid-pipe. Now before I removed that flange, what I actually did was I measured from the inner edge of the flange all the way up to the tip of the first hanger on our factory catback. That's going to give us the distance that we need to cut our mid-pipe for in order to get the correct length on our exhaust system. Now currently, with our flange on there, on our mid-pipe measuring to our new hanger, we're coming in at around 57 inches. So again, we want to go from 57 inches down to 29 inches. Obviously your measurement might just be a little bit different because obviously you had to cut this thing by hand. But whatever your measurement comes out to, you want to measure from the inside lip of the flange here to the tip of that first hanger on your new muffler. Whatever the difference is, that's what we're going to cut. So again, we got to get this down to 29 inches. Let's go ahead and bring this over to our chop saw, make a quick cut, then we can throw this thing on. Okay, so we went ahead, we made the cut to our mid-pipe, we cleaned up the end there. Now as you can see, I actually have the new muffler and our factory muffler with both of our hangers lined up perfectly here. You can see now we have the correct length here, including our flange, so we're all set there. So go ahead and grab a 3-inch clamp, throw it on the mid-pipe to connect the flange. We're also going to be reusing our factory bolts in order to connect it to our white pipe. So go ahead and meet me under the truck and let's get this thing in place. Okay, so we're just going to throw this guy back up onto our factory white pipe here. I'm not going to be driving these bolts home all the way because we do want to have a little bit of play in this mid-pipe. That way we can make sure we have a little bit of leverage in order to get the muffler as well as all our flow tubes in place. Because we do have to kind of bend and twist and pull on some things, if you will. We also have to deal with all those factory rubber isolators. So again, you just want to have this thing kind of playing around a little bit. Just get it tight enough that it's not going to completely fall out of here. If you want to, you can save a little bit of time, just zip it home just a little bit with that 13 mil socket. Once you get this thing pretty much seated, if you want to, you can actually tighten this band clamp down all the way. You'll need a 15 mil socket for him. Okay, our mid-pipe is now secured just enough, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to slide our muffler in place. Obviously you want to make sure the hanger gets into the rubber isolator to kind of help support it. And you also want to make sure you have a band clamp on the muffler, but we're not going to tighten him down just yet because again, we want to have some rotational play in the muffler as well. Okay, now that our muffler is being supported by a pull jack, obviously you can have a friend help you out with this, but it's going to make it a lot easier to line up the muffler. Now we're going to throw our tailpipe in place, and you want to line up both of those hangers with the remaining 2 rubber isolators and kind of slide them in while you get the muffler and the tailpipe to slip together here. Kind of give it a little bit of a wiggle back and forth in order to get them seated completely. And you obviously want to make sure you have a 3-inch band clamp on the end of the muffler in order to secure the tailpipe. But again, we're just going to leave everything loose for now. All right, now that our tailpipe assembly is in place, we're going to install the new hanger provided in the kit. This is actually going to go on the portion that holds the exhaust tips. And he actually sandwiches in between this bolt for our leaf spring pack here on this bracket. Now, if your truck is in the air and the suspension's off-load, then you're good to go here. If not, you want to raise the truck up on the frame rails so that you don't have any load on your suspension. Once you've done that, you can loosen this bolt. Guys, it's very important. You don't remove this bolt completely. You don't even want to take the nut off the other side. You just need to open it up enough to get that hanger in there. So go ahead and grab a 21mm socket for the nut, and go ahead and grab an 18 mil socket for the bolt side, and grab a big old breaker bar and just start loosening him up. Once you get him loose enough, you can switch over to a standard hand ratchet. Now, as you loosen this bolt up, you might notice that your leaf pack might move a little bit. That's understandable, that's normal. But once we get this bracket in place, we're only going to be tightening these up just enough to keep it from going anywhere. We don't want to tighten this down completely with our suspension off load because that could end up tearing one of the bushings inside of this leaf pack here. So we're just going to snug it up enough to keep this in place. You can see this is a little bit of a pain here if you don't have a buddy to help you. Okay, now we can throw on this little wipe pipe here for our exhaust tips. Go ahead and spray it on this isolator. Get the hanger in there all the way. You might have to put a little bit of pressure on the tailpipe in order to get these seated. It's a little stiff here. But once you got them seated, we'll be all set. Now we can grab our tips, and again, make sure you got a clamp on here as well. Okay, our wipe pipe is in place. We're happy with all our tubes and how everything's sitting. Now we can throw our tips on, and we're going to be using the remaining clamps in the kit in order to get these guys in place. They're a little bit smaller than the rest, so it should be pretty easy to tell which ones are which. You want the Roush logo facing up on both of them. You just kind of rotate them until you're happy with the way they're sitting. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to tighten these down, and you'll need a 15 mil socket for both of these. Okay, we're happy with where our exhaust tips are sitting. All of our pipes are lined up. Do yourself a favor, double check that all your clearances are good. You don't want any of your tubes kind of rattling around on anything. Once you've double checked that you're happy with where everything's sitting, we can tighten down all of our remaining clamps. Again, 15 mil socket for all the clamps in the kit. Then we'll work our way up to the front to the wipe pipe and tighten down that flange with our 13 mil socket. That should wrap up everything for us today. And when you go to tighten down these bolts on the flange, you want to kind of alternate side to side, that way it's not kinked to one side. All right, so once you got the tips in place, you got all those clamps bolted down, do yourself a favor, double check everything one more time, then you can finally put the key in the ignition, turn it over, and enjoy that new low-B idle. That'll wrap up my review and install of the Roush single exhaust system featuring the American Trucks exclusive black wipe pipe tips, fitting your 2010 to 2014 6.2 liter powered Raptor F150. Be sure to check it out more on the site, and for all things F150, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.